Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth match with the Black-White Tokens deck in Modern. This is a match against Goblinstorm. Unfortunately, I actually recorded it, live while I was playing like all the other videos, but I managed to record the wrong screen. I have two monitors and I recorded the wrong screen, so the audio was there but not the video. So unfortunately, Magic Online can bail me out by having, the games recorded. So we can go ahead and watch the game. So this was our opening hand. We played a Plains for fairly obvious reasons. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do actually because I can't remember, but probably try to play one of our Anthem effects and then raise the alarm. As I said, our opponent's playing Goblinstorm. I guess I didn't know that at this point, but I know that now. And so they're just trying to get a bunch of goblins in play, either just by casting them or with Empty the Warrens. So our opponent there cast Goblin Chieftain with Pyretic Ritual, and we decided actually to cast Raise the Alarm to just kill it, because it kind of feels like a 2-for-1. So we played the Chieftain, we raised the alarm, blocked it with the 2 tokens, and killed the Goblin Chieftain. And then we have another Raise the Alarm in the hand. So we just decided to pass the turn. We still only have 2 planes, no black mana, so that's not exactly ideal. And our opponent goes on ritualing, looking like he's going to play a bunch of goblins, and he plays Goblin Rabble Master, which isn't a bunch of goblins, but quickly turns into a bunch of goblins. It gives my opponent a goblin at every beginning of combat, and then it gets +1/+0 for each attacking goblin. So we decided to just path to exile that. We don't really want to deal with that. Wasn't concerned. I didn't want to be hit by the goblin or have him make a goblin, and I wasn't concerned about giving him an extra land because he's playing all these rituals anyway. So again, we don't draw a land, so we just decided to leave the mana up for Raise the Alarm. Opponent uses Manamorphose, one of the best of these because it adds to your storm count while also drawing you a card. And then he plays Gitaxian Probe to see what's going on in our hand. He now knows we have no black mana. Now we finally get to cast our Raise the Alarm. And now we play probably Intangible Virtue, right? Yes. And we just start attacking away at our opponent. So we drop him to 14, and our opponent just decides to scoop at that point. He must have had a handful of lands or something and just not been able to race us. So that is the end of game 1. Before game 2, I believe we side out like our Anguished Unmakings for Core Firewalkers, the guy who's really good against red decks, especially mono red decks. So yeah, this is the end of game 1. We'll go to game 2 now. All right, so game 2. Opponent's on the play now. And we have a pretty solid hand. Zealous Persecution seems really good against him. I may have actually sided in one of those. I probably should have if I didn't. I lead with my Vent. He has a lot of Goblin tokens, and while I didn't see him cast this card with Storm, I knew it was Goblinstorm once I started seeing Gitaxian Probe and stuff like that, so I knew I'd have to blow up a bunch of Goblin tokens. So he played this Contested War Zone, which is pretty sweet. It wouldn't be that good if we had a more aggressive start than we did, but we didn't have that aggressive a start. And meanwhile, our opponent goes Probe, Desperate Ritual, Goblin Rabble Master, and we can't do a whole lot about that. We just take 1 right away, and we draw another Shambling Vent. I decided to play a land, and I play Intangible Virtue. So we're opening ourselves up to a bunch of damage here. Another Goblin. For some reason, he didn't attack with that. He probably should have. It would have done 4 damage to me. Now he plays Warren Instigator, and at this point I start to get a little nervous, and I really want to fire off my Zealous Persecution, because if Warren Instigator hits me, things get pretty ugly. I play Shambling Vent tapped, and I, in my turn, leaving mana up for our Zealous Persecution. And I'm about to make a mistake. I use it now instead of waiting until the beginning of combat to kill the Goblin he's going to make. So I still get, like a 3-for-1, which I shouldn't. Well, it's not even really a 3-for-1. It's kind of like a 1.5-for-1 because those were tokens. But I still take 3 here. So that was a bit of a mistake. I should have waited. I realized it was a mistake as soon as I did it. But what are you going to do? And suddenly he has Empty the Warrens and a bunch of goblins in play. And the Contested War Zones. And he's just built up way too big of a board for me here. But I play Lingering Souls. Or Spectral Procession, probably. That would be better. Yes. Yeah, I'm casting Spectral Procession. And I leave mana up for Path to Exile, intending to kill the Rabble Master. But what I don't already realize is that my opponent has Lethal, just because he has so many creatures in play. I kind of glazed over these war zones, but he has 2 of them, so I'm in trouble, so I just path to exile the goblin to keep another goblin from getting made on his upkeep and keep that one from attacking. But my opponent still has lethal. I can only block 3 goblins. Actually, he doesn't have lethal. I think he swings for 12 here. Yeah, he does not quite have lethal. But I have to block 3 goblins. At least I take them with my guys. But I have to draw a land here to be able to cast Lingering Souls twice, and I just can't do it. So I'm just dead. Just casting Midnight Haunting or just Lingering Souls wouldn't be enough. And we just scoop. So that's game 2, and we go into game 3 against Goblinstorm. So game 3 against Goblinstorm. We're on the play now. And we have what seems to be a reasonable hand. The Firewalker is, of course, very good against the deck. We also have, we love having our turn 2 Anthem effect, but we also love turn 2 Core Firewalker against this deck. And we also have a way to make tokens, of course. It's hard not to get those. Our opponent did mulligan to 5, which isn't great for him. So our opponent starts with a mountain. No big surprise there. So now we play our Firewalker, just wanting to gain as much life as possible to make it as hard as possible for our opponent to kill us in the long run. Opponent ends the turn, and we draw a Spectral Procession, which is a pretty sweet draw. It gives us a much quicker clock all of a sudden. And an evasive clock, too. So we play our planes, and we cast Procession. It's kind of silly. It makes me click every time. Yeah, we play our Procession. Get 3 Spirit tokens. Opponent probes us. I'm starting to feel like there's a really good chance of Empty the Warrens here, potentially. Desperate Rituals. I do gain a life from it. So the good news is, even if he storms out, I gain several life in the process. So he Desperate Rituals again. It's interesting because his deck's actually a lot like ours. It is super good against people who have spot removal, but dies so hard to board sweepers. So he plays a huge Empty the Warrens here. I'm actually not that concerned, though, because I have Intangible Virtue and Gather the Townsfolk coming down the next turn, and I can just outrace him. I also just drew Timely Reinforcements, so if things really go south, I can easily get back ahead. So here we decided to just attack with the 3 spirits, just out of fear of some sort of hasty goblin and wanting to prevent the damage. So we just swing with those. Probably, it wouldn't have been bad to swing with the Firewalker, but we just cast Gather the Townsfolk here. And suddenly we have a huge board. And our opponent doesn't even have any really good attacks, and he just decides to scoop. We didn't even have to cast Timely Reinforcements. So we managed to beat Goblinstorm. 1 match left to go. We are 3-1 in our matches so far, so I'll see you guys in the next match. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.